Great. Well, I am just going to go ahead and kick this off. I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. It should be a intersection of wildlife and renewable energy slide. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Today is going to be just a brief overview of the Wildlife Society's Renewable Energy Working Group. We're the ones who are hosting this webinar series. And then we're going to have a select few presentations from some of our upcoming symposium presenters. So very excited to introduce them and let them give you a little insight on what they'll be talking about at the upcoming Wildlife Society Annual Conference. We are hosting a symposium all day, all on terrestrial-based renewable energy on November 9th, starting at 8:30 for the entire day, 5 p.m., and we'll talk about that more. My name is Jen Augustine. I am currently the chair-elect for the Wildlife Society's Renewable Energy Working Group, so thank you again for joining us. So if you haven't heard of the Renewable Energy Working Group before, if you're new to our webinar, I just kind of wanted to give a really brief overview of, what we do with this group and what we're striving to do. So the goals of the Renewable Energy Working Group are to facilitate communication and the exchange of information among members of the Wildlife Society that are interested in renewable energy development and operation, which includes but isn't limited to solar, wind, biomass, hydro, geothermal. We just really want to encompass everybody and really try to bridge that communication gap. Our goal is to improve the scientific knowledge and technical capabilities of wildlife professionals to support responsible renewable energy development and operation. And that could be through mitigation, such as avoidance, minimization, and compensation of wildlife impacts occurring throughout the siting, project design, construction, and operation of a renewable energy project. And the third goal overall of our mission with the Renewable Energy Working Group is to collaborate with all interested sectors, including, wildlife protection and conservation side of things, and, people who are interested in responsible renewable energy development and operation. So this includes the gambit from renewable energy developers and operators, electric utilities and transmission companies, resource agencies, regulators, policymakers, consultants, academics, and researchers. We really want to include everybody so that we can promote new or improvements on existing best management practices. So we are currently represented by what's considered the executive board. We have a past chair, a chair, and a chair-elect. Essentially, those two roles, really the past chair and the chair, or the chair and the chair-elect. Chair-elect becomes the chair, chair becomes past chair. We also have 3 member-at-large positions. They just help weigh in on the day-to-day decision-making on our executive board meetings. And then we have a treasurer and a secretary. Elected positions become available annually. So, as towards the end of the year, we'll be hosting our elections starting next week. We request nominations pretty much starting anywhere in July. We gather elected position nominations all the way through September. And then we provide a ballot to our membership so that they can vote on our next elected officials. But our executive board meetings are open to anyone who wants to attend. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to the Wildlife Society Renewable Energy Working Group email address, which I can provide in the chat. But definitely, we love to have more membership involved. So feel free to reach out if you'd like to be involved in those. We currently have 5 active subcommittees. Some are a bit more active than others, but we are always looking for more volunteers if people are interested in getting involved. Our subcommittees include the Activities Committee, Communications, Conservation Affairs Network, Conferences and Symposiums, and Operations. Just some of the things that, fall under something along like the Communications Committee. They handle our newsletter, email blasts, LinkedIn posts, things like that. Activities, they actually kicked off this webinar series, so helping find people to present. And also as we get closer to, conferences and things like that, they're helping to organize any offsite activities if we happen to be coordinating those. Operations, they really handle reviewing our bylaws, making sure that the working group is working effectively and efficiently. And Conservation Affairs Network is still a work in progress, but really it's a matter of working with the actual Conservation Affairs Network on any policies that are being put in place and trying to provide comments on those policies, trying to bring policies to the Wildlife Society that may be going on regionally that you would like to make sure that we get involved in, and that, we provide a position if possible. And again, also discussing best management practices that could be implemented, things of that nature. So we're really trying to get more involvement on that Conservation Affairs Network Committee. In terms of our previous and ongoing efforts, like I had mentioned, the Communications Committee puts together a quarterly newsletter with information just like what conferences are coming up, webinar series, things like that, and potential job postings, and just keeping people up to date with what research is going on and any kind of announcements that we may have coming up. We also update our Wildlife Society Renewable Energy Working Group webpage. So anything under the announcements and events section, we keep that up to date as well. So really trying to be transparent with what's going on, all things renewable energy and wildlife. Our webinar series, we started this back in January of this year. So we're going on almost a full year of doing these monthly webinars. And we have recently created a YouTube channel where we post all of the recorded presentations. So I can put that YouTube channel in the chat as well, but definitely worth checking out. We've had some great presenters this past year, and we're always looking for more presenters. So if you are working on a great research project, or if you're a consultant and you have a project where you implemented some best management practices that you'd like to share with the group, please feel free to reach out to us at the email address that I'll provide. And we're always looking for more people. Next month, we actually have the Berkeley group is presenting. They're a group based out of Virginia, but they work a lot on comprehensive plans and providing guidance on creating zoning ordinances and regulations for renewable energy development, and how they're implementing certain things such as requiring wildlife corridors to really try to work together with being pro solar development, but doing it in a way that's actually, benefiting wildlife. So that'll be next month. So that information is coming to your inboxes and to the eWildlifer email blast. So keep an eye out. And then of course, the annual conference symposium. Like I said, if you were not aware, we will be at the annual conference Wednesday, November 9th from 8:30 a.m. to, I believe, 5 p.m. It is an all-day terrestrial-based renewable energy symposium. We've got people talking on solar, wind. We've got panels both in the morning and in the afternoon that there will be industry leaders, regulatory agencies, consultants. It's going to be really a good mix of people presenting and hosting. And so I think it's a great opportunity. If you're interested and will be at the annual conference, definitely come check it out on Wednesday. We'll also be hosting our Renewable Energy Working Group members meeting. You don't have to be a member to show up. We're having that at lunch in the same ballroom that we'll be hosting the symposium. So if you come to the symposium and are going to be there around lunchtime from 12 to 1:30, we'll be hosting our members meeting. And it'll kind of be like this. We'll just talk about what we've been working on, our goals for next year, announcing our new elected officials, and it'll be an opportunity to talk with some of the people who are presenting at the conference. So definitely feel free to come by and definitely attend the symposium. With that, I will get into our teaser presentations. So we have 3 people presenting today that will be at our symposium, and that includes Lee Walston. He is at the Argonne National Laboratory, and he will be presenting on solar and pollinator habitat. We also have Tim Green. He is with the Brookhaven National Laboratory, and he is going to be presenting on solar development and eastern box turtles. And then we have Olena Leskova. She's with the University of Florida, and she's going to be presenting on solar and Florida panther movements. So I'm going to just pass this along to Lee. If you are available and good to unmute, feel free.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Jen. Thanks for that introduction. And I'm excited to be a part of the symposium at the TWS conference this year. It looks like it's going to be a good mix of presentations on renewable energy and wildlife issues, and some pretty interesting panel discussions. Really looking forward to it. I don't think it was it might have been a coincidence that we've got the 3 highlights that we have today are all solar related highlights, but I do know that there's going to be quite a bit of wind discussed and other types of renewable energy discussed at the symposium. But yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update and highlight, I should say, a little teaser about what I would be sharing. Well, not next month, but almost a month from now at the symposium on some of the research that we've been doing at Argonne National Laboratory with some of our collaborators shown here at the bottom for the Department of Energy. We've been working for DOE for a number of years, looking at the ecosystem services, the opportunities, some of the challenges and opportunities of solar pollinator habitat, what kinds of ecosystem services that might provide, one of them being benefits to biodiversity. So I don't know, Jen, if I've got control of the slides or if you want to go. Okay, great, thanks. So real quick, without giving away a whole bunch, I'll be sharing some of the research, some of the updates that we have for the last 5 years that we've been conducting field research at some of the solar sites that have been planted with pollinator-friendly vegetation, and all looking to see how insect pollinators and wildlife in general respond to the habitat enhancement or the planting of pollinator habitat. Using transect surveys, systematic surveys down some of the panels. These are all PV sites that are ground-based, utility scale, all at least 3 megawatts in size, at least. We're also using acoustic recorders and wildlife cameras. In a nutshell, we're going to present a smattering of data and observations and some preliminary results on what we've found at these various sites in the Midwest. So everything I'm going to be presenting on is going to be sort of confined to the Midwest, from Minnesota all the way south to Indiana, south central Indiana. So that's kind of the geographic region that we would be presenting in. I don't know, Jenny. Oh, great. Here's just a couple teaser photos of some things that we've seen. We've been fortunate to have some of the insects play nicely for the camera, so to speak, when we've seen them in our surveys. So we have seen monarch butterflies at pretty much all the sites, lots of bumblebees, especially at the sites where some of the native flowers have really sort of taken off, and I'll share that in my talk. Next slide. We've also seen, using some of the acoustic monitors and the cameras, we've just started to detect various forms of other wildlife using these sites. Some of these sites, this represents either year 0 or year 1. So really not a whole lot of data to, establish any trends per se, but I will be sharing some preliminary data on things that we've seen at these solar sites. So that's my talk in a nutshell. So I'll turn things over to the next presenter.
Thank you so much, Lee. Appreciate it. We have Tim Green now, who will be talking on solar and Eastern box turtles. Hey, Tim.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is actually going to be covering a little bit more than just box turtles, because a colleague of mine, Jennifer Higbee, is on, and we have a little bit about some of the wildlife openings that we had. So if we can go to the next slide. So we're talking about one of the first utility scale solar facilities on the East Coast. It was the Long Island Solar Farm was built back in 2011 and became operational in 2012. And it's a 32 megawatt facility that covering almost 200 acres. At the time, it was the largest facility on the East Coast. And we specifically worked with the developer to design it for wildlife in mind. And the goal was actually to have native vegetation underneath all of the panels. That didn't quite work out, but we did also help them design the fence so that wildlife could get in and out of the solar farm, pretty much everything except for white-tailed deer. White-tailed deer on Long Island are a problem. They consume a lot of the vegetation, so the idea was to keep them out. So the turtle study, we started in 2011 before the farm was developed, just to start getting some information on box turtles. And then over the years from 2011 to 2018, we had 41 different turtles radio transmitted, and we tracked them. Just to give you an idea, there's a turtle with the transmitter on it. Most of these turtles were actually female, and I'll be talking about why we did female turtles. So next slide. So just to kind of give you ideas, the turtle, we had variable use of the turtles and solar farms. So we had some turtles moving great distances. Some of them were displaced during the construction of the solar farm, and so they moved these really great distances. Others were confined and small, so there's high variability between the home ranges of turtles and their use of the solar farm. Next slide. And then the other talk, and Jennifer Higbee can chime in here as we're going through, is the design of the fence. So about every 75 feet, there's these small openings in the bottom of the fence that are about 4 to 4.5 inches by 16 inches in size, and really designed so that anything and everything could get through except for deer. And then Jennifer's talk actually will talk about all the things that she saw using these wildlife openings. And just a smattering of things: raccoons, foxes, feral cats are using the openings. Next slide.
I think those were the only slides that I had from you.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure if there was another one. All right.
No.
Very good. Yeah, Jennifer, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, please feel free. Put her on the spot.
Hello. Hello, my name is Olena. Jennifer, can you please? Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Olena, and at the symposium, I will talk about my study on how solar utility scale solar facilities impact habitat suitability and connectivity for Florida panthers. So here in this slide, you see Florida panther and a solar facility, one of the solar facility that was in my study area. So Florida panthers have been on endangered species list for over 40 years. And currently we have only one breeding population in Southwest Florida. So in order for these species to recover, we need them to be able to establish more populations and ensure that these populations are connected. Please, Jennifer, can you? Thank you. So this map shows some of the core core areas that we selected for our study. So we used habitat suitability modeling based on telemetry data points, and based on those on telemetry points that were collected for over 40 years, we were able to determine habitat characteristics. And based on these habitat characteristics, we were determine which cells are more suitable for habitat for Florida, and the cell size was 1 square kilometer. So we were able to look at peninsular Florida, and denoted by A here is, yeah, thank you, is where the current breeding population is. So you can see that the area for them to be able to disperse and go north is really, it is really difficult, and there is a lot of impediments with development and roads. And we selected some of these areas, so we selected these areas of possible suitable habitat, and we evaluated peninsular Florida based on habitat suitability finding. We basically were able to run circuitscape and determine dispersal corridors between core areas that we core areas of suitable habitat. And so we did it twice, before these solar facilities and after solar facilities. And we had 45 solar facilities in our set. Our facilities were between 35 and 75 megawatt. And they covered area, altogether they covered 28,000 acres. So it's a relatively big area. And we also evaluated what kind of habitat they replaced. So mostly they replaced pastures and grasslands. Second land cover impacted was agriculture, and the third land cover was forest. So Jennifer, can you please? Thank you. So in this slide shows the areas of most substantial impact. So some of these areas, some of these facilities are located within the suitable habitat. Some of them are located in the middle of the corridor, or in clusters in the corridor. So we looked at all of these changes that happened before and after installation to see what's happening to the dispersal routes as we install more and more facilities in these rural and natural areas. So I also wanted to say that this study was published last winter, and as I continue working on this research, I actually added more facilities that were installed and planned to be installed based on 2022 10-year plan submitted by utility companies in Florida. And I also updated my land cover with most recently published land cover data, and also updated my population density based on recent census data. So I will share some, I'm going to talk about this study, but I'm going to share some of the most recent findings that I have and on the future symposium. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, I'm sorry if I interrupted. I yeah.
No, you're great. You're good.
Yes, I I didn't realize I'm sorry if I interrupted previous
No.
speaker.
I think that Tim was just seeing if Jennifer Higbee, who is also on, which we kind of put her on the spot anyway, if she had anything that she wanted to add. So with that, I know this was a quick and brief kind of cover of, you know, the Renewable Energy Working Group and some of the presentations you might see if you attend the Renewable Energy Symposium. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I will stop sharing my screen and can rejoin. Oh, I already am sharing, thank you. And we'll rejoin the chat here. Oh, I see. Jennifer Higbee does not have a mic on her computer. Got it. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions for any of our presenters. Feel free to raise your hand, unmute, or if you have any questions about the upcoming symposium or the working group, we are happy to answer anything we can. And I just want to take another moment to thank Tim and Lee and Olena for taking the time to present today. We're really looking forward to their full presentations at the symposium in just over a month. It's quickly coming. Yes, I am putting a couple things in the chat. Thank you for the reminder, Susan. I will have our TWS email address in the chat, as well as our YouTube channel. So I will get those added in right now. But if anyone has anything else they would like to discuss, please feel free. Heidi, I hope you do make it to the symposium. Here. You can definitely, Heidi has asked, is registration for the conference still ongoing and is single day attendance possible? Single attendance is definitely possible. I will only be there on Wednesday, unfortunately, but there for the full symposium day. I would double check the annual conference page just to be sure, but I believe registration is still ongoing. And I think the one day was around $300, somewhere in that ballpark. So definitely a cheaper option than going for the full conference. Well, and Susan's got the right answer. She said you can register on site as well. So definitely please consider coming. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. So I have put in the chat our TWS working group email address. That's the gmail.com. I also put the link to our working group website. So there you'll find everything from announcements and resources, who our executive board members are, which will be changing this coming November after the annual conference, when we will update it with our new elected officials. And then this last one is our newest YouTube channel, which is where we've been uploading all of our working group webinars. And so, yeah, as I said, if anyone is interested in presenting any of their interesting research or projects, please feel free to reach out. We would be happy to have you. And again, a friendly reminder that the Berkeley group presentation, they focus mostly on solar. That'll be October 27th. at 3 p.m. Eastern. That information will also be posted on our working group website. So feel free to check that announcements page, and that should be on there. I'll also be sending out an email with the login registration information, and it'll be posted in the eWildlife in the next coming weeks. But that is really going to be focused on experiences in planning, regulating, and permitting utility scale solar facilities, and how those relationships and impacts on wildlife and natural resources are influenced and affected by these developments. So that should be really exciting as well if you're a policy nerd like myself. But yeah, so does anyone have any other questions we might be able to answer? If not now, feel free to send any questions to our TWS Renewable Energy Working Group Gmail address, and we're pretty responsive and happy to answer any questions, or if you're interested in getting involved, feel free to reach out. And thank you all again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar and hopefully at the symposium.